welcome back to the Unlimited podcast. Today we're speaking to three performing artists and companies. They are Mind the Gap, Freestylers, and Sunny Unwachuku. First up, we spoke to Alison Colburn and Nikki Miles-Wilding from performance and live arts company Mind the Gap.
Hello, my name's Alison and I'm an artist at Mind the Gap. Over the past 7-8 years or now, the company has stopped doing scripted work and just gone on to a more contemporary edge where we create a script using ideas which we have in our brain and make those ideas come to life.
And I'm Nikki Miles-Wilding. I am a freelance theatre director and radio director. And I've worked with Mind the Gap recently on the project Leave the Light On For Me. So Leave the Light On For Me is an outdoor performance, and it's been developed over the last year between myself and the Mind the Gap artists, and Joyce as well, who is the artistic director at Mind the Gap and is also the co-director on this project. And we wanted to make a piece of work that was fun and engaging, a little bit cheeky, and kind of addressed the climate crisis and what we do and what we don't know about the climate crisis. And we started working on this by sort of having conversations about the climate crisis, and it's now developed into this 40-minute piece of outdoor work that that shows the world in the future.
One thing that's really interesting about Leave the Light On for me, from my perspective, is it is audio described, and we have also tried to incorporate sign language into it. And from that perspective, in fact, it's possibly one of the more accessible pieces of work we've done, because from the word go, we've been thinking, how do we make sure that, say, a blind audience know what's going on? How do we make people who may not be able to fully understand words, how do we simplify it and make the words less so, and try to make the action speak louder than the words? On South Bank, it may be outdoor or indoor, but either way, the general stage layout will be the same. There'll be 2 pylons near what in theory would be the front of the stage, and then at the centre back you have a nice metallic tower. The pylons are attached to the tower, and near the pylons there should be a chair each. One has a fake generator on it, and the other that has a plant on, usually, if the wind doesn't blow it off, which it tried to do this weekend just gone.
And the chairs as well, aren't they? They're kind of made out of plastic bottles, recycled plastic bottles.
Yes, the chairs are metal frames, I believe, but where you would have the cushions, you have plastic bottles.
And the whole set has been sort of made from recycled material, so everything has got that sustainable feel to it. Even the kind of that's on the costumes, what clothes the characters are wearing, a lot of that has been sourced from second-hand shops as well.
And when for any reason it isn't possible to get from second-hand because the design is really specific, shall we say, for one or two things, they've tried to make sure that it is done as sustainably as is humanly possible to do so, to enable it to be sustainably sourced.
For me, as the co-director on the project, I had to really expand my knowledge of the climate crisis as well, therefore to kind of assist the group in their understanding of it, and also finding out that actually it's kind of everything related to climate crisis is not that accessible. There aren't many easy read documents available. And for some people, it was really starting at the beginning to understand what you can recycle, what can you do, what is going to be the impact if we don't go carbon neutral. So it's really, we had to watch a lot of sort of documentaries to get our heads around that, introduce people to kind of Greta Thunberg, David Attenborough, and really start to think around the language that is used in these conversations. How could we make it more accessible for people to understand it?
I think one thing I found interesting was just seeing the journey some of us had, because one of the cast members, they thought it was all about recycling plastic bottles and clean beaches, and that was about as much as we understood. And to see how the understanding has progressed through these past 1.5 years is amazing. So we've tried to simplify a really complicated matter, so to speak, into as plain a term as we kind of manage to help with the accessibility.
I think that was the difficult thing that was highlighted, as Alison states, that it is the language used around it. And the interesting things that came up in conversations is also how reliant some of the artists are on kind of carers or parents supplying that information, and also how it's not taught at schools, particularly if you went to a kind of, special education, however much I hate that term, I still have to say it. If you went to a special education school, like it's not necessarily taught. So it was quite interesting hearing from the artists how angry they were that this knowledge had never been given to them, that they really have felt excluded from the conversation. So it's really highlighted kind of changes that need to be done and how that can, and what that can possibly look like.
So far we've only stuck to England, and I don't think we've even been further south than London so far. So, of course, it could potentially go into Wales or Scotland. But if it is that accessible, why don't we go international?
Yeah, I think the hopes for the project is that it is seen by wider audiences. So this year it's had a kind of bit of a tour, as Alison mentions, and has been at Unity Festival in Cardiff, has toured sort of round West Yorkshire, and coming down to London. Yeah, but I think it could do with going to more places on a wider scale, so more people can see it. It can, yes, it is built for the outdoors, but part of me goes, could it be a little schools tour actually? Because I think there's a lot in there that actually young people should start to understand, and the young audiences that have come to see it have really loved the characters, and the Planet Inspectors have quite a big sort of fan base as well, with their kind of weird and wonderful costumes that they have. I think the impact of it is to, I know Mind the Gap are working with some organisations to look at the research going into the language used around climate crisis. So I think it will have a bit of an impact that way as well. So those wider organisations can start to think about how they are communicating what's going on with regards to climate crisis. So yeah, there's kind of the impact of the show, but then also the impact of the findings and the research that's coming out from our process. I think it's worth saying that Leave the Light On for me it's a fun, interactive, amusing and universally important piece of work that I feel really proud of, and it's been, for me as a freelancer, it's been really fantastic to work with Mind the Gap on this, and thanks to Unlimited for allowing it to happen. And yeah, here's to much more of Leave the Light On for me moving forwards.
Thanks, Alison, and thanks to Nikki. Next, we spoke to Roland Carline from Freestylers about their work, Everybody With Me Always. First of all, can you introduce yourself and tell us what kind of work you make as an artist?
Hi, my name's Rowley, and I facilitate, and today I'm representing a group of artists called Freestylers, a group of creative people who some of us identify as neurodiverse, some of us identify as having learning disabilities, and we meet every Tuesday, and we have a freestyle session at Siobhan Davies Dance, and we basically keep it very open as to what that session might be, and sometimes people use spoken word, and sometimes we put on our favourite music and do freestyle dancing, but every week it's a different thing, and we just kind of all feel our way through it collectively. So I guess I sort of like hold that group and hold that space and facilitate people who need it. But we like to think at Freestylers that we don't necessarily have any leaders, and everybody's in charge.
That's great. Can you tell us the name of what you're showing at the festival and what it is?
It's called Everybody With Me Always, and we were commissioned to make this piece of work right in the middle of it. We were commissioned just before the lockdown happened, and then we were making it right in the middle of lockdown, and I guess that's why we called it Everybody With Me Always, was because we wanted to use the money in order to sort of stay in touch with each other and keep the sessions going somehow, some way, and keep our relationships with each other alive. And so the way we started making this work was that we went on walks together. We would meet up in wild spaces to try and make it as safe as possible, and go walking in the wild, like sort of outside London, close to where people lived. So we'd just take a short train journey to wherever we could get to, and then just go for a walk, and we'd film each other and just sort of like have chats about how we were feeling, where we were at, what we're worried about, what we're thinking about for the future, thinking about what our group is and what it means and stuff like that. And that's the starting point. And in the work, you'll see all these walks that we go on, and we put it all together. We just picked out all our best bits from the walks. We talked about what we wanted to go in, and it started sort of kind of telling a story. So it's got a bit of a beginning, a middle, and an end. And the first bit of the movie is all about I guess it's a lot of it is to do with what it means to perform in front of people, and it's about like confidence, and about about getting confidence and finding like the self-belief inside of yourself to sort of get up in front of a load of people and perform. And then the middle bit is all about us sort of figuring out who we are and where we're going and what we want to do. And then the end bit, in the journeys, we sort of ended up, the walks often ended up at a big body of water. So it was all like we always ended up at a lake or at the sea or somewhere like this. And it like, just interestingly, a lot of people started talking about loss and people that they'd lost. And somebody in our group lost her brother in the pandemic, and so that sort of shaped the final chapter. Really, it's kind of about, again, it's about the importance of being together as a group and holding each other and holding each other's feelings of loss.
So in addition to the film that you've already talked about, this is quite interactive, isn't it? You're there for, like, is it 2 hours, 120 minutes on the live performance? Yeah, the live. So can you talk about the live element of this and how people can get involved in it? Yeah,
so basically, like, there's at the beginning, in order to sort of like enter into the space, we've got a performer called Ezzy and another performer called Adam. And they are really into like Vogue dancing, ballroom and stuff like that. and they come in and they talk to people about that, and we all sort of like enter the space in a very flamboyant way, and we invite everybody who's in the audience to sort of enter the space in the same way by kind of walking down a catwalk that we're going to kind of create with the audience, and showing everybody how Adam says how fabulous we are and how amazing we are, and like that. So we get everybody up to get involved in that if they want to. It's always a choice. We're never like going to force anybody to get up if they don't want to. But we find that it's a nice way to sort of like get into this space, and sort of throughout the performance we always say to people, like, you know, that they can move around. We don't have to have that audiences sitting down, performers standing up, and sometimes the performers want to come and sit down in the audience because they need to take a break as well. And then there's other bits in the performance where, like, you know, we'll just have we'll put some like music on, and people will be doing their freestyle. But then other times people might get up and do a solo. For example, there's a guy there called Joe, and always in his solo, he's always looking for people to come and be his backup dancers. So he might invite people to come and join him and be a part of his performance and stuff like that.
The other things in this that you found challenging working on, I mean, one of them, the obvious one, would be the pandemic, but were there other things where there were difficulties? Are there things that you did that were new?
A lot of people in our group have never left London before, and we've been, like, last year we've been on a bit of a tour. We went to Scotland, we went to Newcastle, we went to Liverpool. We're going to Margate, and also we're going to Sweden in the future as well. So it's been really big for everybody. Do you know what I mean? It's like, wow, we're getting out of the city. We're quite a young group. We've not been going very long, sort of like just a couple of years or something like that. So all of it has been new and challenging in lots of ways, but amazing. Like, so quite often the challenge is what makes it amazing, because you don't know if you can do it or not. And a lot of people, including myself, you know, get to these big spaces like Tramway, and you're like, I don't know if I can do this because we're not used to it. Do you know what I mean? But then everybody sort of rises to it and gets really big, and, you know, like, it's amazing to watch that.
That sounds so great. I can't wait to see it. So you've talked a bit about, like, you're going to Sweden, right? Are there other plans for this in the future? Is there anything you'd like to, you know, kind of do bigger and better in the future?
I think, like, we're all ready now to make a new bit of work, because we've been doing this bit of work for a little while now, and because, like, you know, we want to keep it fresh and we want to improvise, and like, you know, I think we're all itching to like do something new now, because the more you perform something, the more, like, it's definitely, like, we're definitely at a stage now where we're like, yeah, we're ready to do something new. But at the same time, we've got this film which is so great, because it's like it's sort of like little bits of all the shows that we've done, and all the shows have been different, and so it sort of like holds it all together. And what's great about it is that, because it's quite a big undertaking, because there's like 19 of us in total, and it's quite a big undertaking for us all to go up to different places. So what's happening now with our gigs that we're doing further down the road is we're taking the movie and we're showing the movie to people, and then we're doing a kind of workshop as well. And so we're going to get out and about this year, I think, and that enables us to take the work to lots of different places easier and go off in smaller groups and stuff like that. So we're looking forward to that as well. But the other thing that we're really keen to do now is a bit of outreach, like to kind of take the work into SEND schools and like other places, you know, like, it's really nice to be able to do this work in like big spaces like the South Bank that we've got coming up, but then also to do something that's a little bit more intimate for smaller groups of people. And again, you know, people that can't necessarily get to the work if it's going to be in a big venue like that. It's like saying, don't come to us, we'll come to you. Do you know what I mean? And we want to do a lot more of that as well, because it enables us again to sort of meet new people and reach out and find out who's out there.
Thanks, Roland. Great to hear about Freestyler's work. Finally, we spoke to Sunny and Wachuku about his work, Saturn Returns.
Hello, my name is Sunny Wachuku, and I am a writer and director. Usually I create choreo poems, actually, and they use spoken word and movement to create a story. I also write poetry as well, and also traditional plays as well. I actually started off as a dancer, and that is one of the main reasons why I love using choreo poems in a way, because it has that element of using movement and spoken word like a marriage in a way. Ooh, tell us about Saturn Returns. Ooh, that's a question and a half. So Saturn Returns is about magic, to be honest, and it's linking into relationships of all kinds as well, and how we just interact with each other as well. I've always wanted to tell a story that looks into cycles of rebirth as well, and how life after life we can either learn from past mistakes, or we carry them on in a way. And looking at it at a psychological point of view as well, is actually really talking about trauma and how we can become more aware of it in our own lives, and then how we as a community can guide each other in understanding and building up a new community in a way. It was also really important to me as well to really create a world in the theatre room as well. And we have hanging lights all around the theatre space, and we use quite a lot of haze. And the haze is about creating this new character within this place as well, and helping it to come alive. With this staging as well, like, it was really important to have this kind of haunted, holy area, and also a altar/confession box as well, and it really helps to bring the room alive. So Saturn Returns is actually being played in the BSL room, and what the audience can expect in a way is like a roller coaster of emotions. Like, there are some happy times in there, and some thoughtful times in there, and there's loads of shade as well, and in a way, like, it's like real life in a way, and it's like just actually hearing your friends speak in a way. And what I really like on this actual piece as well is that everyone can relate to Ada and Obi. What was really new about this work is actually being a director who's hammered, I don't know anyone who does that. So like, if you know anyone, please let me know, because it's not easy out here. And that has really quite stretched me. And the reason why is because how the rehearsal room is how I also bring myself in the rehearsal room, if you know what I mean. Like, what I really like is how slow my rehearsals are, and how access is really at like heart of my rehearsal room, and it really turns into a community in which we all hold each other in a way and work in a accessible way as well. Where would I like my work to head over to? New York, Paris, France. Let's go. No, to be honest, like, it's quite a piece of work where I would actually really want to take this to America, especially like in New York, to be honest, and also LA, and Chicago as well. What I really love on this actual work is that because there is movement and also spoken word, you can really understand the piece of work on different levels, and I would really like to actually tour this work in like Europe as well, and to really understand how different cultures react.
Thanks, Sunny. It's been great to hear about some of the performance work at the festival. Some of this work will be available remotely, so if you can't get to the festival physically, head to the Unlimited Festival page on the South Bank Centre website. There's a link in the description of this podcast. Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back to speak to 3 more great disabled artists about their work at the festival. See you then.
This podcast has been produced by Unlimited thanks to funding from the British Council. Unlimited is supported by Arts Council England, Arts Council of Wales, Creative Scotland and the Paul Hamlyn Foundation.